the auction, correct? Yes. Oh, and we can go back to, oh yeah, okay.
Good morning, everybody. So, I'm Alejandra Posada, and I was somehow roped into the auction committee this year. No, I'm happy to be a part of the auction committee this year. And you may be thinking, well, it's only February. The auction's in May, but it's time to get things rolling. So get out your jazz hands, because this year's theme is Life is a Cabaret. Let me see those jazz hands. All right. Okay. So we chose this festive theme because we're going to be making some significant changes, but that we think will be for the better and will help make things easier and just allow us to enjoy this experience together as much as possible. So this year, no more paddles, no more raising your hand with a number, no pressure, just a silent auction, followed by an amazing cabaret-themed party in Westwood Hall, which will behave this year, on Saturday, May 17, from 6 to 9 p.m. Also, if you ever had any issues with 32 auctions, you don't have to deal with that anymore. We're going old school, and we're going to be doing all of our bidding on paper bid sheets, which will be laid out here in Delaney Hall starting in April, and then we'll close during the event on May 17th. There's also no longer a buy now fixed price option for parties. So if you really know you want to attend that party, you'd be advised to make sure you come on the 17th or send a proxy if you can't be there. And the parties, like all the other auction items, will go to the highest bidders. Bidders, yes, excuse me. What won't change is the food, the fun, and the fellowship. There's going to be lots of games, heavy hors d'oeuvres, beverages, and entertainment. Of course, we have a fundraising goal, $28,000 as set in the budget. But the really big goal here is for us all to connect, have fun together, laugh, enjoy each other, not just at the party, but throughout the year. We need each other. We need our community more than ever. So along those lines, we're asking you to start thinking of items or experiences that you can donate. And for anyone who's a little bit new here or hasn't been to one of our auctions yet, we call it a service auction. We like to focus on things that we can do with and for each other. So a party, an outing, a workshop, if you have a special skill that you can teach to other folks. Vacation homestays, if you have a place that you might like to make available for someone for a few days during the year. Ball games, performances, be creative. Or something that, are you a great baker? What can you bake delicious desserts? Do you crochet? Can you crochet something for somebody that they might appreciate and have in their home to remember you? So think creatively about your gifts and about what you enjoy, and we hope that you will offer those items to better enjoy our community. So there are some auction forms outside. There are some on a table in Delaney Hall right now. We would encourage you, if you are able, to go to the link or use the QR code here and fill out the information there. That'll directly send us the information about what you want to donate. If you'd prefer not to do it electronically, you can grab one of these sheets, and we have a place out there for you to deposit them, or I think we had Marcy as the point person. Marcy waving her hand back here. You can email or talk to Marcy, who can help you make sure you get that information in. Let's see if I've missed anything. So, start thinking about what you might be able to donate, and in the coming weeks, we'll be following up with more information about tickets and sponsorship information, and then As we said in April, you'll have opportunity to start bidding on those donations, culminating on Saturday, May 17, 6 to 9. Put it on your calendar. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Alejandra. I'm going to throw a curveball at the tech folks. Remember last week I was supposed to show a video and I forgot? Can we show it this week? Are we ready? Yes, I'm getting a slight nod. Yeah, good. So I'll read a couple more announcements to give you a minute to get that video going. Lunch bunch today at 12:15 is at Mod Pizza. If you're still a little new around here, this is just an informal gathering. Come, have a little lunch, continue the conversation. Mod Pizza is right here at the corner of San Felipe and Bering. Between the service and lunch bunch, we will have coffee and conversation in our gathering place. Our coffee sextant, Hans, had to go home due to an emergency. If anybody can hang around and help Ann May tidy up afterwards, that would be greatly appreciated. Each Sunday here at Emerson, we have members of our lay pastoral ministry team. We call them LPMT members, and they are here to give you someone to talk to if something comes up in the service for you, if I say something that touches a nerve or otherwise energizes you in any way. LPMT folks are recognizable by their yellow name tags. Do we have a couple here? We have 1, 2, 3. So if you would like to talk afterwards, please feel free to see an LPMT person. Today, we are doing at 12:15. If you are still a little new around here and you'd like to get to know Emerson, we would like to get to know you. If you have questions about the church or questions about Unitarian Universalism, at 12:15, we will meet upstairs in the library. Can't miss it. Just walk down the hallway, and we will be there. We'll have little light snacks for you as well. If you are still a little new around here and not quite ready to come to the new UU class, but interested in getting to know more about us, please feel free to fill out a yellow card. You'll see them in the back of the pews. That will put you on our mailing list, and we'll keep you up to date on what is going on. And MC, can I ask you, you mentioned in the adult RE class that there was a town hall meeting. I didn't get whether that was live somewhere. No, it's in person. So if you are concerned with the state of our government and would like to hear from a representative, a federal representative, there will be an online town hall thing coming up tomorrow at 7:30. MC in the, purple sweater, let's call it purple. Yeah, just feel free to ask her and she'll direct you to the event. And also on the topic of political sort of social action, I'm still getting the hang of this state. I haven't been here long enough to really vibe it, but this is one of the years where your legislature meets. So this is one of the years where we pack up a bus or pack ourselves into a bunch of cars and go up to Texas, to Austin, and scornfully look at some of our legislators. And that is organized by our friends at Texas UU Justice Ministry, and they have this message they would like to share with you. So if you're interested in joining us to look scornfully and hopefully bend that arc toward justice. We have Ellen Norton, who is helping people understand how we're going to do this and organizing things from the Emerson side. And I think participating in that is a great thing if you have the time, if you have the inclination. And you don't even have to know why you're angry. You just look angry, and it'll get the job done. Yes, Ellen. Oh, good. Great. Thank you for putting that flyer together so we know what we're doing. And then the Wirt Road Music Fest is coming up next month, too. So there's this flyer. We're going to get more flyers out there, but put it on your calendar, March 22nd. And we are trying to have a contingent of Emerson musicians performing at the Wirt Road Festival this week. It was great this year. It was great fun last year. We played Frisbee. We had all kinds of fun. Of course, we can't be there this year. We're going to be away. But, oh, that was a lot of announcements. Let's go into our formal part of our service, and Julia would like to explain a little bit about the music this morning.
Thank you, Reverend Ed. As we go into our prelude this morning, you'll notice that the text to the song will be on your screen. This is for you to really read and digest as we sing, and as Ariel Deshotel, our soloist, sings, lift every voice and sing.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let all rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun, let us resound till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, and with the steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed. We have come, way that with tears has been watered. We have come, treading a path, blood of the sun.
As we gather in community, we look within ourselves and to each other for strength, restoration, and inspiration so that as we journey together, we catch the spark of the eternal Spirit. And from that spark, we light our chalice flame. Lighting the chalice flame symbolizes to all that the spirit of our congregation is strong and that our will to transform ourselves and the world is also strong. We light the flame with gratitude. We light the flame in memory of all who have gone before, in honor of all who are here now, and with joy for all who are yet to come. And here comes the fun part. I haven't asked anybody to light the flame this morning. So, as Alejandra Posada lights our chalice flame here in the sanctuary, I invite those of you joining us from home to light a candle or chalice of your own. As for the reading for February this month, thank you, Alejandra. She is not well known outside of certain circles, so I'd like to tell you a bit about her. Ava DuVernay is a contemporary award-winning American filmmaker, screenwriter, director, and producer. At just 52 years old, she has already directed many movies I'm sure you've seen along the way, becoming the first Black woman to win Best Director at the Sundance Film Festival, the first Black woman to be nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Director, and the first Black woman to direct a film with a budget in excess of $100 million, which happened in 2018. Please join me in reading these words together as they appear on your screen. When we're talking about diversity, it's not a box to check. It is a reality that should be deeply felt and held and valued by all of us. As we work together to create beloved community, we welcome all who would join us in building a better world with more love, more justice, and more peace. We welcome all who would join us in growing in mind, heart, and spirit. We welcome all who would join us in tearing down systems of oppression of all kinds. We welcome all who would join their purposes to ours in a loving spirit of right relationship. Please join me in our welcoming. The words are on the screen. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, wherever you find yourself on your life's journey, whichever your pronouns, whether you walked in or rolled in or dialed in, whomever you love, you are welcome here. And now, we have our presentation of this week in Unitarian Universalist history with the inimitable Richard Cummins.
Thank you, Stephen. I've been called a lot of things, but not that. Reading from this book, Frank Schulman's book, This Day in UU History, since we're running a little short today, I've selected one from the week of February 17th to the 23rd. On the 17th in 1818, the abolitionist Sally Holly was born in Canandaigua, New York. She attended Oberlin College and found herself defending her religious views as the only Unitarian there. At Oberlin, she met Carolyn Putnam, who became her lifelong friend and partner. She worked for the American Anti-Slavery Society and fought for voting rights for freed slaves after the Emancipation Proclamation. With Putnam, she worked to teach black students in Lottsburg, Virginia, and her school became known as the Holly School. Holly and Putnam built a new school and hired 2 black women as assistant teachers. Sally Holly died on January 12, 1893. Reverend Ed?
Can you imagine a time where there was only one Unitarian at Oberlin? Wow. Y'all know. Do you know about Oberlin? Yeah, okay, yeah. Each time we gathered, we hear words from one of our 6 Unitarian Universalist sources. Our opening words this morning come from English novelist, critic, and translator Samuel Butler, who lived from 1883 till 1902. That can't be right. Anyway, here are his thoughts for your consideration this morning. Words are not as satisfactory as we should like them to be. But, like our neighbors, we have got to live with them, and we must make the best of them and not the worst of them. And now, with our chalices lit and our hearts and our minds centered, I invite you to lift your voices. Stand if you wish, or stay seated if you wish, but lift your voice and help us sing our first hymn, which is hymn number 347, Gather the Spirit. The words will be on the screen.
Hi, everyone. For our special music today, we are going to be singing America the Beautiful with some adapted lyrics. I recently found a singer-songwriter on TikTok. Her name is Eden, and she wrote different lyrics to the song that I think were very timely and good for us to digest. So the lyrics will be on the screen. Feel free to sing along or just listen and receive. Thank you.
Emerson collects an offering each week, like many other communities of faith, but our offering is not for our church, which is supported by the annual pledges of our members. We collect our Sunday offering to give to others because we know that giving is both a transformative spiritual act and an important way to live our values. 75% of today's offering will go to our February Share the Plate recipient, Cario Camacrudo tribe of Texas, also known as Esto Ganat. The Cario Camacrudo has defended their lands from the triple threat of militarization, desecration, and environmental racism. They took the Trump administration to court to resist the border walls plan to run through the heart of a local cemetery, and they faced down corporate attempts to build liquefied natural gas export terminals on the lands of their ancestors, and won. The remaining 25% of today's offering will go, as always, to Interfaith Ministries Meals on Wheels, which provides thousands of meals every day to Houston's homebound seniors. You can go to our website for online giving, put cash or a check in our offering basket, or mail a check to the church. During the offering music, children who want to attend their RE class may follow, I'm looking around, okay, to their classrooms. Okay, thank you.
I invite you now to celebrate a moment of peace and quiet, a moment when you hear no voices, including your own. A moment to just sink into the pew, let your feet dangle or rest on the floor, and just be. Just for a minute, just be.
The words for our reading today come from American writer John Steinbeck. Steinbeck lived from 1902 to 1968 and is famous for many of his books, most notably his Pulitzer-winning The Grapes of Wrath. Our reading this morning comes from a 1958 letter to his son, Tom, in response to his son's letter to him, in which his son told him that he was in love with a woman named Susan. Dear Tom, we had your letter this morning. I will answer it from my point of view, and of course, Elaine will from hers. First, if you are in love, that's a good thing. That's about the best thing that can happen to anyone. Don't let anyone make it small or light to you. Second, there are several kinds of love. One is a selfish, mean, grasping, egotistical thing which uses love for self-importance. This is the ugly and crippling kind. The other is an outpouring of everything good in you, of kindness and consideration and respect. Not only the social respect of manners, but the greater respect, which is recognition of another person as unique and valuable. The first kind can make you sick and small and weak, but the second can release in you strength and courage and goodness and even wisdom you didn't know you had. You say this is not puppy love. If you feel so deeply, of course, it isn't puppy love. But I don't think you were asking me what you feel. You know better than anyone. What you wanted me to help you with is what to do about it. And that I can tell you. Glory in it for one thing, and be very glad and grateful for it. The object of love is the best and most beautiful. Try to live up to it. If you love someone, there is no possible harm in saying so. Only you must remember that some people are very shy, and sometimes the saying must take that shyness into consideration. Girls have a way of knowing or feeling what you feel, but they usually like to hear it also. It sometimes happens that what you feel is not returned for one reason or another, but that does not make your feeling less valuable and good. Lastly, I know your feeling because I have it, and I'm glad you have it. We will be glad to meet Susan. She will be very welcome. But Elaine will make all such arrangements because that is her province, and she will be very glad to. She knows about love too, and maybe she can give you more help than I can. And don't worry about losing. If it is right, it happens. The main thing is not to hurry. Nothing good gets away. And then he signed it. Love, F.A.
As I heard that reading, I sat here wondering and kicking myself for not doing the research to finding out whatever happened to Tom and Susan. Did they go on to find eternal love? I think Tom is still alive. So today's focus of this time we spend together is our fourth principle. Our fourth principle is the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And it is also a focus on one of our values, our religious value of transformation. And it has in its basis, it has in its beginning, where it starts, is in my undergraduate time, my time in college. I studied modern languages. I loved languages. I still do. I believe that languages have a way of multiplying beauty and knowledge and wisdom And these things aren't beautiful just because I know them or I had thought of them. They are beautiful for themselves. And I wanted to do my best to make sure that as many people as possible got to see the beauty of being human that I saw. I was amazed, totally amazed at how other people saw the exact same thing that I saw in so different ways. Seeing things through their eyes, and language was a big help. Seeing things through their eyes multiplied my exposure to the beauty of the world and wisdom. I think there's a reason why we study culture and language together. There's a greater understanding that comes from the study of language and the study of culture. Geographically isolated cultures, such as here in the United States, suffer from an unawareness that breeds sort of into an arrogance at times. It's obvious that if you live 5 minutes from people that speak a different language from you, you're going to have a different response to language than if you don't, right? Early in my life, I started to call this U.S. aversion to language and this aversion to culture Americance, which is a mixture of the word American and arrogance together that I created. Trademark. The idea that each language, when I was studying languages, what I realized, you know how you realize things that other people are thinking but you're not, and then you kind of realize what they're thinking? They wanted every word in the target language to have an equivalent word in English, right? They thought that French or Spanish or German was just English with different words. And of course it's not. And to extend that out, they also thought that French or English or German or Chinese or Filipino or whatever culture we're looking at was really just American culture with different celebrations, different words, different whatever, cultural aspects to them. And I think that this sort of assumption that everything is the same in these other cultures, just slightly different, I think that this stems from an underlying unknown or possibly unaware belief that other people are just faded copies of us. Other people, or worse, other people, other cultures, are just failed attempts at being Americans. And there is that underlying. You can see it very clearly in our foreign policy. And it leads us to do things. Now, I'm not going to reject entirely that there is an underlying similarity between humans, like nose in the middle, eyes on top. That's kind of the same just about everybody, right? And then we all are naturally inclined to love children. And I'm not talking about people with mental illness or some sort of chemical imbalance, but we are sort of developmentally inclined to love children. We recognize the same facial expressions. The same facial expressions mean the same things in different cultures that developed independently from each other. So there is something inherently human that links us all together. But there are also very significant differences in how this plays out. Language is one of the tools that we can use to look at this. Kant said there were many different tools. I am focusing here on language. And we use these tools to describe the world around us. But what if there are no words that adequately fit to describe our experiences? Remember, language both, I'm I'm going to make a statement here. I said remember because I believe it, but I don't know if you believe it, so I want to bring you into this statement. Language both reflects and influences the differences in cultures. The concept that language both reflects and influences how we look at the world, our culture, is called linguistic relativity. There's a term for it, and it is a highly disputed term. We vacillate through time between linguistic relativity being an accepted thing and being a rejected thing. The most sort of, the iteration where we see this often, and we've probably all heard this thing, although it's very disputed, is the concept that Eskimos have 16 words for snow, which is sort of true and sort of not true, and a whole other sermon. So we're not going to go there, but it's true enough to include it in this sermon. So the issue is that Eskimos have 16 words for snow because they deal with a lot of snow, and they need to have different words. The dispute itself over whether Eskimos really do have 16 words for snow is in and of itself another example of arrogance. And I want to just say that I don't take it lightly because it led to about 100 years of linguists wanting to erase native languages, just get rid of them because they were inadequate. And it led to a lot of the disturbing things that happened in the Canadian children's homes. However, this focus on the words being developed to reflect the world around us, this focus on linguistic relativity, is a very practical expression, a very practical way of approaching how we think. In other words, why would we create a word for something we have no experience of? We wouldn't do that, right? It's not something we would bother doing. And a great example of this is in the Tagalog, Malagasy, Malay, and Parisi languages. Tagalog from the Philippines, Malagasy from Madagascar, Malay from Malaysia, and Parisi from the Amazon. There is no word for ice. Think about it. Why would you have a word for ice? You've never seen it before. So they don't have a word for ice. They also don't have a word for snow because it is outside of their experience. And now I would like to attempt to blow your minds just a little bit. And I use the word blow your mind because it's a euphemism, which is another linguistic tool, and it is a very deep and wonderful linguistic tool. I'm not actually going to blow anyone's minds. It's a figure of speech. But I would like you to consider all the words in all the languages that don't exist. Consider all the words we don't have. Can you imagine not existing in one language? And I'm not just saying words that exist in one language but don't exist in another language. I'm saying just plain old don't exist. And I'm going to give you my first example of this. Now, this is a word that exists in one language that does not exist in another language. The word is le néant. It's a French word, and I studied it back in undergrad when I was studying Jean-Paul Sartre. And any sermon that mentions Jean-Paul Sartre is ready to go off the rails. But I am not this is not a sermon about Jean-Paul Sartre, okay? Which we could do later because I love Sartre, but most people don't. Anyway, my French teacher, the French teacher came into the philosophy class. I went to a small college. And the reason they came into the philosophy class is because the name of the book we were studying was L'être et le néant by Sartre. Being And in English, we say nothingness. But the French teacher was there to say that's not exactly what le néant means. It doesn't mean the absence of thing. It means the absence of existence. It is the opposite of existence. And we don't have an opposite of existence in English. There's just not a word. The opposite of nothingness is somethingness, not existence. If you scratch your mind, and we took 20 minutes talking about this in this class, and I remember this vividly because I remember thinking to myself, how can something exist in one culture like le néant not exist in an entire other language culture not been thought of, to the point where we had to have someone come here and explain this word. And there are certainly words that work. Nothingness is the common translation, but it's not the same. Anti-being would be the word, and we don't really have that word. Here's another example. Fast forward 20 or 30 years, and I'm reading a book. And this book is called Anti-Fragile. Has anybody ever read the book Anti-Fragile? Anti-Fragile is written by a guy named Nicholas Taleb, who, if you see an interview with him on TV, he is a royal jerk. But that doesn't make him wrong. So he was writing about markets and money and things like that. But that's not the point. The word anti-fragile, he had to invent a word for anti-fragility because we don't have an English word for it. If we had a glass, something very breakable, something fragile, and we pushed it off, it would land, and there would be a shock. There would be a shock of that weight of that glass. That glass would land, it would shock, and it would break. Fragile things become less valuable due to shocks. Most people think that the opposite of fragile is robust, right? If we were to have a rock and we were to drop it off, the rock wouldn't break. The rock would be not broken. But that's not the opposite of losing value. The rock is exactly the same for having fallen off the edge of the pulpit. The opposite of becoming less valuable with shock is becoming more valuable with shock. So robust is not the opposite of fragile. So he had to create this word, anti-fragile, because there was no opposite of fragile in English. Taleb did this word, and what he was talking about with anti-fragility is things that gain from chaos, things that gain from stress, things that gain from shock, things like your immune system, which gets better for having been sick and learned how to fight off a little bug. Things like tempering glass. If you heat glass up a lot and let it cool down in a particular way, the glass becomes less fragile. The glass becomes better for having gone through the shock. We have known this concept of getting better through shock, throughout time and memorial. There are stories in mythology. This guy named Damocles, the sword of Damocles. Damocles dines every night with a sword dangling from a horsehair over his head. A very small stress to the string or the horsehair would kill Damocles. Fragile. On the other side, we have the opposite of fragile. We have we have robust. On the other side, we have the phoenix. The phoenix dies and is reborn from the ashes, and it always returns exactly the same as it did before it died. That is robust. But the hydra demonstrates anti-fragility. The hydra demonstrates anti-fragility because when one of its heads is cut off, what happens? it grows back 2 or 3 more, right? Which is what I believe dandelions do as well, right? When you pull it out wrong. So pulling out a dandelion or cutting off the head of a hydra is actually good for these things. And yet, despite these ancient stories, we don't have an English word for it. This says a lot about our viewpoint on the world, doesn't it? The same way we speak of Tagalog and Malagasy and Malay and Parisi, the same way we talk about these people, the same way these people don't talk or possibly couldn't even imagine the idea of frozen water in any form. By the way, when they did need to come up with the word, they called it sleeping water. The reason they don't talk about it, the reason speakers don't have, the reason English speakers probably have difficulty talking about these things that get better under stress is, like it or not, we are beholden and corralled by our language. It limits the way we are often in ways that we are unaware of. And even when we want to broaden our minds, we are limited in explaining our experience by our own language. We see this with people who've experimented with LSD and psilocybin. They come back out of the experience, which is this much broader experience, and they don't have words to explain. This is a common phenomenon that we see. Words are not good enough all of the time, and we even say that a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? Because we don't have enough words to describe what is going on in the picture. Our language, my friends, is limiting in ways that we may not always understand. How does this pertain to being a Unitarian Universalism in these days? Well, it talks to our fourth principle. Our fourth principle, the principle and the value of transformation. Our fourth principle asks us to engage in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And how do you engage in a responsible search for truth and meaning if you haven't considered things that you don't know that you haven't considered? And transformation is the same way. Both tell us that transformation is part of what it means to be human. It is inalienable, it is inseparable from what it means to be human. Search is inalienable. Search is inseparable from what it means to be human. And a prudent search, where our fourth principle gets tricky, is when it says a responsible search for truth and meaning. You can't just believe something because it's convenient. That's not the way meaning works. So it asks you to make sure that you're considering all alternatives. And I'm asking you to consider all alternatives, even the ones you don't know exist, which is trickier. Prudent search is based in reality. So the extent to which your language is limiting your free and responsible search is something you need to consider. If le néant is actually a real thing, how did my unawareness of it influence my search prior to my awareness of it? How does the unawareness of snow, regardless of whether the Tagalong, Malagasy, or Parisi, how does the unawareness of this thing called snow influence how they see the world? For our search to be truly free, truly responsible, it needs to be anti-fragile. So, did I just make it harder for you? Good. Because it is hard. And we're all here to do it together. And we welcome you to do it with us. We welcome you to be here with us and find out the things that you don't know that you don't know. Those are the best ones, aren't they? But what we can do together and know, I'm being handed a note. Eskimo is considered derogatory. Yes. Yes. Don't use the word Eskimo. Inuit, Inuk, yes, that is true. The language is called Eskimo, though. The people are called Inuit. Yeah, that is true. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I invite you now to sing with us 338, I Seek the Spirit of a Child. 338, the words will be on your screen. You may be seated. Each time we come together, my friends, we move. We move with the words we hear, we move with the music we hear, especially the music today. Music was wonderful today, thank you. We extinguish this chalice now. I ask Alejandra to come and extinguish the chalice now, not as a symbolic ritual, but as a practical ritual. We do this because the flickering, fluttering light of our congregation is carried within each of us here present, those not present today, those who have left this community long ago, never to return, and those who have yet to arrive. I invite, thank you. We are grateful for your presence this morning. For those of you who have joined us on YouTube after the postlude, I will be ending our live stream of the service. We are grateful to have you with us, everybody who's out there on YouTube today. And we look forward to having you again online or here with us on Bering Drive. May we, in the course of our weeks to come, be able to feel the liberating freedom of this religious path we share. May our gods welcome us. May they challenge us to live up to our own expectations of ourselves, wherever and whatever they are, and may the world around us light up so that we may see our way back to clarity and wholeness. Amen. And